Hello, this is James Hudnall, and welcome to another episode of Creative Secrets. This episode is about the story question. You might be wondering, what is a story question? I did not specifically relate to the story question, but here's where it comes from. The trigger event. The trigger event is the point where the story shifts from Act 1 to Act 2. It is an event that causes the character's life to be thrown out of balance. It can be a crisis, it could be a lot of things, but what it does is it makes the character, your main protagonist, leave their comfortable life and go off into an adventure where they have no idea what's going to happen next. The story question's job is to make you wonder what's going to happen to the hero. How are they going to survive this? Or to make them wonder how they're going to succeed if it's not such a critical situation. Because not all stories are about life and death, but you should care about what happens next. And that's the story's question. What happens next? That is something that the reader, the viewer, should care about. Because if they don't, they might just put your book down, or they might walk out of the theater, and you don't want that. You want them to be interested in everything that happens following the trigger event. So let's explore the story question and look at the ways to handle it. In the first act, you're introducing people to your characters. You're setting up the groundwork for the story. You're setting all the pieces in place. So by the time you get to the trigger event, they should have a sense of who's who, what's what, and they should hopefully care about the character that you've made your protagonist. Now the trigger event happens. What the trigger event should do in a good situation is inspire in the mind's eye of the viewer or the reader a vision of where the story is going and what should hopefully happen at the end. They should have a general sense of that. And if you do a really good job, you'll make them kind of fantasize about it as they're watching. You make them say, I really want this to happen. That is where you're inspiring a vision. The story question is sort of creating in your audience a bond that is going to make them care about the character and to sort of see themselves in the place of that character. They become the avatar for the reader or the viewer, and therefore they're bonding with that character. Now let's be clear, you are in control of the story, so you decide where it ends. They, however, may have their own idea, which you can let them think all you want, and you can even do things to make them even think it further. But you can lead it to a surprise ending or to an ending that they don't expect. That's your choice. But by creating the bond, you are giving the audience a reason to hang on and keep going. You're giving them a reason to be motivated to follow through with the story, to see where it goes. And if you do a really good job, you're going to keep them surprised and interested. You have to continually work on that. The question is just the beginning of a process, but it's something that you really have to do. It's a critical factor in making a story compelling and interesting to the audience. One of the things you have to consider is that when the character decides what to do or makes a choice regarding their next action at the trigger event, you should create a decision that inspires empathy, not sympathy. What is the difference? Well, one is something that you personally feel connected to, and you feel like you wish you could do something for them because you understand where they're coming from. The other is you feel sorry for them and you just want to see them succeed, but you don't feel connected to them. And you really don't want to be the second choice, because that is something where they're just feeling sorry for the character. You want the people to have empathy. Not everyone is going to respond to the same action the same way. Everybody has their own personal animus. However, you should consider a universal thing, and that is the people will accept the decision that aligns most with their views of the world than the decisions that go against everything they believe in. I'm talking about morality and not politics. There's a general moral area where most people agree about good and bad, and that's the area where your character's decisions should be one that people can accept. If you have them go in a direction that people won't accept or won't like, you risk alienating them or making them not like your character. So you have to consider that. If you are trying to make a point or you're trying to be surprising, you can do that, but consider the risk. Initially, you want people to go along with the decision that the character makes. So This is how you develop a sense of identification with characters. You have the character do things that people can accept and like. If you have them do things that they would find obnoxious or unappealing, you're risking making them think less of the character, and that's going to affect how they view the events that happen in the story. So again, you have to think about that. Ultimately, the story question should be a thing that gets your characters on the side of you, the writer, and on the story, on the character side, the protagonist. You want them to be rooting for them to succeed. And in order to do that, you have to get a sense of human psychology. And you have to decide what kind of things will people accept, but you have to make the decision that the character makes surprising or interesting, so that they're not just boring and predictable. That's something that you have to develop as a craft and a skill, and that takes practice sometimes, but some people can do it instinctively very well. So that'll give you basics for the story question, and this series will continue to elaborate on things and expand on things, so you'll basically be getting a larger scope of it all. But initially, I just want to give you the basics so that you can understand it, because there's so much to take in and there's so much to absorb. I don't want to overwhelm you with a lot of stuff initially. I just want to give you enough to have a grounding and everything. But as we explore this further, you'll discover that there's much more to everything that I've discussed so far, and you'll hopefully expand your horizons of knowledge, and it'll help you expand your skill sets. So that's it for today. I will see you next time, and please check the links below. I appreciate your support, and if you haven't done so, please subscribe. Tell everyone about this series, because we could use more hits. We could use more viewers. I'd like to get this subscription over 300. We're at 262, I think, and I want to get, I'd like to get over 1,000, but first, one step at a time. So help me out, please. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, and we'll talk later. Bye.